not every classic got the credit it deserved. The 1970s was the golden age of R&B, but some of the deepest songs from that era were almost buried. Hidden, overlooked, forgotten by time. These ballads carried real emotion, real life, real pain, and the stories behind them, most people never knew. Some of the songs you love most were nearly lost forever. This is the true story of 12 R&B ballads that defined the 1970s. 12 songs, 12 untold moments. One decade that changed music forever. Stay till the end. Because the closer we get to number 1, the deeper the truth gets. Number 12, Al Green, Have You Been Making Out Okay? Now, before you say, I know Al Green, hold on, because this is not Let's Stay Together. This is not Tired of Being Alone. This is one of those songs that lived in the quiet corners, the kind of song that played late at night when the room was dark and you were thinking about somebody you probably shouldn't have been thinking about. That feeling, that's what this song is. It moves slow, real slow, like a Sunday morning that refuses to end. Al's voice doesn't rush. It just floats over you. And you feel it before you even understand the words. It was recorded at the legendary High Record Studio in Memphis, Tennessee, Royal Studios, right there on Willie Mitchell's home ground. Willie Mitchell produced this track, and that man had a gift. He knew how to make a song breathe. The drums sit back, the horns are soft, everything is patient. The song came out in 1972 as part of Al Green's incredibly fertile early period when he could do no wrong. Lyrically, it's a man checking in on a love that might be slipping. He's not angry, he's not demanding, he's just asking. Have you been okay? Have things been all right without me? And that gentleness, that vulnerability from a man that was rare in 1972. That meant something. It charted respectably on the R&B charts, but never became the crossover giant that some of his other records did. Still, in the soul community, people who knew. Here's something beautiful about this one. They say the session had a softness to it that even the musicians noticed. And Willie Mitchell reportedly kept the tempo almost uncomfortably slow on purpose because he wanted listeners to feel stuck in the feeling. He didn't want them to escape it. And it worked. If you've ever sat with this song in headphones, you know exactly what Willie was doing. Now, why don't more people talk about this one? Because Al Green had so many classics in that same stretch of years that some songs just got swallowed up. When you've got Let's Stay Together and I'm Still in Love with You sitting right there, quieter gems get overlooked. It also wasn't pushed as a major single the way his bigger records were. It became a deeper cut, something you discovered, not something that found you. And that's a shame, because this song deserves to find people. It's proof that sometimes the most powerful moment in an artist's catalog is the one nobody's talking about. Number 11, Teddy Pendergrass, The Whole Town's Laughing at Me. You need to understand something about Teddy Pendergrass before we go further. This man had a voice that didn't ask for your attention, it commanded it. When Teddy sang, rooms went quiet. Women cried. Men who thought they were too tough, they felt it too. And this song, this particular song shows you exactly why. This one hits different. It's not smooth. It's not polished in the way that makes you comfortable. It's raw and exposed, and it aches in a way that only real experience can produce. You put this on and you feel like you're standing in the middle of a street at night, embarrassed and heartbroken and too proud to go home. This track came from Teddy's work with Philadelphia International Records, the most powerful black-owned soul label of that era. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff had built something extraordinary in Philadelphia, and Teddy was one of their crown jewels. The production has that classic Philly sound, lush strings, a deep pocket rhythm, orchestration that lifts the emotion without overpowering the voice. Lyrically, it's about public humiliation and love. Everyone knows your relationship fell apart. Everyone's watching. And you have to keep walking through that town with your head up, even though everything inside you wants to fall apart. That was 1977. Teddy had just stepped out as a solo artist after years fronting Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and he was finding his own voice, finding his own pain to pour into music.
And I lost it. And I lost.
Now here's a fun fact that not enough people know. Teddy Pendergrass was initially reluctant to go solo. He had built something real with Harold Melvin, and there was loyalty there. But the industry pushed him, and once he stepped out, once the world heard what he could do alone, there was no going back. This song, in a way, is about that kind of exposure, standing alone, being seen, being judged. It's almost autobiographical.
What a man can feel.
This one faded partly because Teddy's more sensual records took over the conversation. Songs like Turn Off the Lights and Close the Door became his identity to a lot of people. The lover man, the bedroom voice.
And I lost it.
And while those songs are incredible, they pulled attention away from the more vulnerable, more emotionally complex work like this one. It deserved more. It still does. Some songs tell you the story. This one is the story. Now, if you're enjoying this journey so far, go ahead and smash that like button.
Maybe if I had spent more time with you.
It helps us keep digging into the music that deserves to be remembered. Now let's keep going, because number 10 is a record that was bigger in London than it ever was in the States.
All right, quick pause in the countdown, because I need to say this from the heart. If these R&B picks are hitting you, if they're bringing back memories, late night vibes, old playlists, and that feeling you can't explain, then please subscribe to Sexual 69 right now. Not just for you, but because it genuinely helps this channel survive and grow. Every subscribe is like you telling YouTube, yes, this music matters. Keep this kind of content alive. It pushes these forgotten songs back into the light, helps more real R&B lovers find the channel, and lets me keep making deeper, better countdowns for you. So if you want more lists like this, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment with the one R&B song that raised you. Let's bring these classics back together.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 10, Bobby Womack. Everything's Gonna Be All Right.
Don't let this world mislead you. Don't you ever go astray.
Close your eyes for a second and imagine a voice that sounds like it's been through everything, every heartbreak, every mistake, every dark night, and somehow came out the other side still standing, still singing, still believing. That's Bobby Womack, and this song might be the purest example of who he was. It
Trust in God's word and believe it, 'cause it'll never pass away.
wraps around you like a warm hand on your shoulder. It doesn't pretend life is easy. It just insists gently, stubbornly that you're going to make it through. There's a gospel undertone here that reminds you Bobby Womack grew up singing in church. That foundation never left him.
We'll see him in his glory, riding on the clouds of joy.
Bobby recorded this for United Artists Records in the mid-1970s during a period when he was one of the most respected but criminally underappreciated artists in soul music. He wrote deeply, he played guitar like a man possessed, and he sang with an honesty that some artists spend whole careers trying to find.
Greeting us with open arms and peace forevermore.
The production is warm and full, layered, but not overcrowded. Let the voice lead and everything else follows. The lyrical message is simple on the surface. Hold on, better days are coming. But Bobby delivers it with so much lived experience that it stops feeling like a message and starts feeling like a memory.
I know that everything is gonna be alright.
Like he's not just telling you it'll be all right, he's telling you because he knows. Here's what makes this one special in the wider world. This record was a massive sound system favorite in the UK, particularly In the reggae and soul crossover scenes, British R&B fans and Jamaican communities in London latched onto Bobby Womack in a way that American radio never fully understood.
He's coming back, like he said
He was revered overseas and played at blues parties, family gatherings, and community dances across Britain, while American stations largely moved past him. And that right there is exactly why this song slipped through the cracks in its home country. American radio in the mid-70s was shifting, disco was rising, and records like this one, rooted in real soul and gospel-tinged emotion, started to feel old-fashioned to programmers, even though they weren't. Bobby never chased trends, he stayed true to himself, and sometimes the industry punishes artists for that. His catalog was scattered across different labels over the years, which made consistent promotion nearly impossible. But the people who found Bobby Womack, they never let go of him. Hold on, because number 9 is coming, and it's a song with a secret that even most die-hard R&B fans don't know. Number 9, Donny Hathaway, A Song for You.
I've been so many places in my life and time.
I need you to really be present for this one. Put the phone down, stop what you're doing, because Donny Hathaway's version of A Song for You is not just music. It is one of the most emotionally complete performances ever recorded by anyone in any genre.
I've sung a lot of songs.
When this song plays, the room changes. Something shifts. The air gets heavier and softer at the same time. Donny had a gift that is almost impossible to explain. He made you feel like he was singing to you specifically, not a crowd, not a room, you.
I've made some bad rhymes.
Now the song was written by Leon Russell and recorded by several artists. But what Donny did with it on his 1971 album on Atco Records was something entirely his own.
I've acted out my life.
The production, handled with Donny's own deep musical intelligence, is bare enough to let the voice breathe completely. One, there are no walls here, no protection, just a man at a piano.
Life and stages.
Singing about a life spent performing, about the gap between the person the world sees on stage and the real person inside. It's about longing.
10,000 people watching.
About wanting to be truly known by someone you love. The lyric that talks about living his life as if it were a show, that line lands differently when you know what was happening in Donny's personal life. There was real pain underneath.
We're alone now.
Here's something that still gives people chills. Donny Hathaway was a classically trained musician. He studied at Howard University and had a musical understanding that went far beyond what most of his contemporaries possessed. He arranged, he produced, he composed,
And I'm singing this song to you.
and yet he wore it all lightly. Nothing in his performances ever felt academic. It all felt human. That combination is extraordinarily rare.
I know your image.
Yet this song has not been forgotten the way some entries on this list have. Serious music lovers know it well, but it is deeply underrepresented in mainstream conversation about 70s R&B.
Of me is what I hope to be.
It tends to get overshadowed by This Christmas and his duets with Roberta Flack, which, while brilliant, are only one corner of who Donny Hathaway was. The full weight of his artistry lives in moments like this one, and his story, his mental health struggles, his tragically early death in 1979 added a layer of sorrow to the music that made some people unable to listen without grieving.
I treated you unkindly.
That can push a record underground even when the art is extraordinary. Donny Hathaway deserved a long life, and a long legacy built in real time. We're still catching up to what he gave us.
Darling, can't you see?
Number 8 is coming, and this one starts with a controversy I promised you earlier. We're getting close to that moment. Keep watching. Number 8, Sarita, To Know You, by none other than Stevie Wonder, who was also at the time her husband, and released on Motown Records in 1972. Let that sit for a moment. Stevie Wonder, in his creative prime, producing music for the woman he loved.
For me when I'm sad and feel.
The attention to detail in this record is extraordinary. And the arrangement is delicate and layered. Stevie understood exactly how to frame Sarita's voice without overwhelming it.
You always come for me.
Lyrically, the song is a quiet celebration of love, not the dramatic, stormy kind, but the deep, knowing kind. The kind where you understand someone completely, and that understanding is the love.
To know you.
It resonated with R&B audiences who were tired of love songs that only talked about fire and passion. This was about something quieter and rarer.
Used to love you. Used to.
The fun fact here is almost bittersweet. Sarita and Stevie's marriage ended before the album's momentum fully built, and yet the music they made together during that period stands as some of the most beautiful, collaborative work in Motown's entire history. Their personal story became inseparable from the music, and that cuts both ways. For some listeners, it made the songs more powerful. For others, it made them too painful to revisit. Sarita's career never quite reached the mainstream heights her talent deserved. Part of that was Motown's complicated promotion priorities. In the early 70s, the label was navigating a major move from Detroit to Los Angeles, and certain artists got caught in the transition. Sarita wasn't always given the full promotional push her records needed. She also existed in an era where being connected to a more famous artist, even one as celebrated as Stevie Wonder, could sometimes shrink your own identity in the public eye rather than expand it.
Too strong to hold itself.
She was her own artist, completely. And records like this one prove it. We're getting deeper now. Number 7 is one that nearly broke its own artist, and the story behind it has never been fully told. Stay right there. Number 7, Bill Withers, Who Is He and What Is He to You?
A man we passed just tried to stare.
Now this one has layers. On the surface, it sounds calm, almost conversational. Bill Withers doesn't shout, he doesn't perform, he just talks to you steady and low, and somehow that quiet delivery makes the emotion hit harder than if he'd been screaming.
Me down. And when
That is a skill very few artists in history have had. This song lives in a specific feeling, that slow creeping suspicion in a relationship. That moment when something doesn't add up and you're not angry yet, you're just watching, waiting, asking careful questions.
looked at you, you looked at the ground.
And the stillness in Bill's voice captures that perfectly. You feel the restraint, you feel the control that's just barely holding together. The track appeared on Bill Withers' 1972 album, Still Bill, recorded for Sussex Records and produced by Booker T. Jones, yes, that Booker T of Booker T and the MGs.
Don't know who he is, but I think that you do.
The production is minimal in the best possible way, a funk-leaning rhythm, precise guitar work, and lots of intentional space that lets every syllable breathe. Bill Withers was never a traditional R&B vocalist in the polished sense.
Dadgummit.
He came to music late, had worked factory jobs well into his adult life, and that working-class reality sat in his voice like it belonged there.
Who is he and what is he to you?
The song became an R&B staple and found massive new life decades later when D'Angelo recorded a stunning live version that introduced it to an entirely new generation.
I had something.
Here's a detail most people miss. Bill Withers nearly walked away from the music industry multiple times. He deeply distrusted the business side of music, the label politics, the control, the manipulation, and those feelings weren't paranoid.
In my heart and in your eyes.
They were earned. His relationship with Sussex Records became increasingly difficult, and by the mid-70s, the situation had deteriorated significantly. He eventually moved to Columbia Records, but the transition cost him years of momentum.
Tells me he.
An artist of his caliber should never have had to fight that hard just to keep making music. This brings us to the controversy I hinted at earlier, and now is the moment to unpack it fully. Controversy payoff. Bill Withers and Sussex Records.
He's not someone just passing by.
You remember at the start of this video, I told you there was a story behind one of these records that goes deeper than the music. This is it. Bill Withers' relationship with Sussex Records is one of the more painful chapters in 1970s soul music history, and it's important to talk about it carefully.
And when you cleared,
because there are different versions of what happened. And Bill himself spoke about it in various interviews over the years in ways that painted a complicated picture. Sussex Records was an independent label with genuine passion for the music.
your throat was at your cue.
But as the mid-70s arrived, the label faced serious financial difficulties. Distribution became inconsistent.
Dadgummit, who is he?
Promotion budgets dried up, and artists like Bill Withers, who had delivered the label some of its biggest commercial successes, found themselves in a situation where their records simply weren't getting to stores or to radio in the way they deserved.
And what is a he to you?
In interviews, Bill Withers spoke about feeling trapped. He felt his voice and his catalog were being held in circumstances he couldn't control. There were legal complications around his contract that made it difficult to simply walk away and start fresh.
Now when I add the sun.
The industry in that era, particularly for black artists on independent labels, offered very little protection. The power dynamics were deeply unequal. You could make a record that the whole country loved and still have almost no say in what happened to it next. Some people in the industry say the issues were purely financial, a label that simply ran out of money. Others who were closer to the situation have suggested that the lack of priority given to certain artists reflected something more systemic. The ways in which the music industry has historically undervalued and underprotected black artists, even when those artists were generating significant revenue.
I get confused and I keep
What's not in dispute is the impact. Bill Withers lost years of creative momentum during a period when he was arguably at his absolute peak.
coming up with grief.
Records that should have been massive got limited pushes. An artist who deserved full institutional support was navigating obstacles that had nothing to do with the quality of his music.
You're too much for one man.
And here's the reflection that matters. The story of Bill Withers and Sussex Records is not unique. It is one version of a story that played out again and again throughout the 1970s. Talented black artists, groundbreaking music, and an industry structure that too often extracted the value without fairly protecting the source.
But not enough for two.
That history matters. It explains why so many incredible records from this era didn't reach the heights they deserved. It explains why so many of the songs on this very list are called forgotten or underrated. The music was never the problem. The system around the music was.
Who is he and what is...
Bill Withers eventually got to Columbia. He made more classics, and when he passed in 2020, the world finally stopped and fully acknowledged what he had given.
He to you.
But we should have said it louder while he was here. All right, we're halfway through this list, and I need to ask you something right now. Which song has hit you hardest so far? Drop it in the comments below. I want to know what's resonating with you. Now let's keep going, because the top 6 is where things get really deep. Number 6, Minnie Riperton, Inside My Love.
Two people, just me.
There are voices, and then there are voices. Minnie Riperton existed in a category that almost defies description.
Barely touching each other.
Her range, that extraordinary 5-octave range, could move from warm earth to pure sky within a single phrase, and Inside My Love might be the most complete expression of everything she was capable of.
Two spirits.
This song feels like floating. There's no other word for it. It doesn't move the way regular songs move. It drifts, it rises, it pulls you somewhere quiet and beautiful and a little otherworldly. If music could be a place, this song would be a room full of soft light with the windows open.
Breathing, trying to carry it further.
This was released on Minnie's 1974 album Stay in Love on Epic Records, produced by Charles Stepney, one of the most gifted and underappreciated producers in the history of black music. Stepney's arrangements were unlike anyone else's. He came from a classical background, but understood soul completely, and the way he built the musical landscape around Minnie's voice on this record is breathtaking. Lyrically, the song is sensual and searching an invitation into deep emotional and physical intimacy, but handled with such grace and artistry that it transcends the obvious and becomes something almost spiritual. It was ahead of its time in how openly and beautifully it spoke about desire from a woman's perspective. Here's the heartbreaking context that surrounds this record. Minnie Riperton was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1976, and by 1979, she was gone just 31 years old. She recorded and performed during her illness with extraordinary courage, even serving as a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society.
We should be one.
Her music has lived on and grown in stature, but the shortness of her time means there are whole chapters of what she could have become that we simply never got.
Inside.
For a younger generation, Minnie Riperton is often known primarily for Lovin' You, her most famous single, which she wrote as a lullaby for her daughter, who grew on to become actress Maya Rudolph.
Each other. You can see inside me.
And while Lovin' You is genuinely beautiful, it has sometimes narrowed the public's view of who Minnie was. Inside My Love is more complex, more daring, and in many ways more fully represents her artistic vision. It deserves to be heard by everyone who loves real music.
Will you come inside me? Do you wanna?
Some lights shine so bright and leave so fast that we spent decades trying to understand what we lost. Number 5 is coming, and this one was a cult favorite in Jamaica before America even caught on. The international soul story you never knew. Number 5, Bloodstone, Natural High. Okay, this one is special to me in a particular way, and I think it's going to be special to you too. There are some songs that put you in a state of grace. No drama, no tension, just pure, uncomplicated joy and peace. Natural High is one of those songs.
On you all the time.
It's the kind of record that makes you exhale, makes you lean back, makes you remember that love, when it's good and real and simple, is the most powerful force in the world.
And I don't even know you.
Bloodstone was a group from Kansas City, Missouri, and they recorded Natural High for London Records, which is itself an interesting detail. We'll come back to releasing it in 1973.
Why?
The song was produced with a lush, easy-rolling arrangement that blended soul, funk, and a touch of pop in a way that felt completely natural, nothing forced. The lead vocal is warm and unhurried. This is a group that understood the power of restraint.
Do I feel this way? Thinking about.
Don't oversing, let the feeling carry. Lyrically, it's beautifully simple. You make me feel good just by being you. No complications, no drama, just love as a source of elevation.
Every day, and I don't even know.
Now here's the international story. Natural High was a massive record in the UK and across the Caribbean, particularly in Jamaica, before it broke significantly in America. The reggae and lovers rock communities embraced this kind of smooth, melodic soul completely.
Take me.
Sound system selectors in the UK were spinning this record in clubs and at parties, building its reputation organically through the dance floor long before American radio gave it full attention.
In your arms, thrill me with all of it.
There's a version of music history where the global black diaspora was a more accurate judge of soul music's true value than American commercial radio ever was.
Your charm.
In America, Bloodstone became something of a one-hit situation. In the wider public imagination, Natural High was their signature, and it somewhat overshadowed the rest of their catalog. But even within that, the song itself is less celebrated now than it should be.
To the sky, loving you.
The 1980s and 90s pulled listeners' attention forward, and a lot of early 70s soul groups that didn't maintain consistent commercial presence simply faded from the general conversation. Bloodstone deserved better. This song deserved better.
For to the day I die, take to the sky.
It is, without any exaggeration, one of the most perfectly constructed soul records of the entire decade. We're in the top 4 now. And number 4, I Want You to Be Ready. Because this one is the definition of a lost classic, a record so beautiful, it almost seems impossible that it isn't famous. Number 4, O.V. Wright, Into Something Can't Shake Loose. Let me ask you something honestly. Have you heard of O.V. Wright? If you have, you know exactly why he's on this list. If you haven't, this moment is going to change your relationship with 1970s soul music permanently. O.V. Wright had one of the most powerful voices in the history of gospel-influenced R&B. Not one of the most. Full Stop and Into Something Can't Shake Loose is the kind of record that makes you wonder why the world isn't talking about this man every single day. It grabs you immediately. There's a desperation in the groove, a feeling of being caught in something bigger than yourself, unable to break free. And O.V. sings it like the emotion is physically inside him trying to get out. There's nothing casual about this performance, nothing held back. This is total commitment. O.V. Wright recorded for Backbeat Records, a subsidiary of Duke Records out of Houston, Texas, with production work connected to the legendary Willie Mitchell, who you'll remember from our number 12 entry. The The Memphis-Houston soul axis that Mitchell worked within gave records like this a gritty, warm, deeply human sound that is completely different from the polished Philadelphia or Motown production styles.
It looked like I bit off more than I could chew.
This was 1975, and the landscape was changing. Disco was beginning its rise, but records like this one were keeping the deep soul tradition alive for those who needed it. The lyrics describe being so deeply in love or so deeply in trouble that there's no rational escape. That ambiguity between love and pain is exactly what the best soul music has always lived in. The fun fact about O.V. My right is this: he was primarily known as a gospel artist before crossing into secular R&B, and that tension between sacred and secular, between salvation and the streets, never fully left his music. You can hear the church in everything he did. That background gave him a vocal authority that went beyond technique. He wasn't just singing the words, he was testifying. O.V. Wright is perhaps the single greatest example on this entire list of an artist whose commercial profile never matched his talent. Poor distribution, a label that operated outside the major industry infrastructure, and a style of music that was increasingly swimming against the current of late 70s trends all worked against him. He passed away in 1980 at just 41 years old, and the full recognition of his genius has largely happened posthumously in music circles. Wide in the conversations of serious soul collectors, in the quiet reverence of people who know there is no justice in how little the world knows this man's name, but the music survives, and music this honest always eventually finds the people who need it. Top 3, we are almost there. And number 3, this one is the definition of what happens when pure artistry meets pure timing. A record that arrived at exactly the right moment for a whole generation of people who didn't know they were waiting for it. Number 3, Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway, The Closer I Get to You.
The closer I get to you.
Now, you might be thinking this one I know, and you might be right, but I want to ask you to listen to it again after this video, because knowing a song and truly hearing a song are two very different things.
The more you make.
There is a conversation happening in this record, a real one, between two people who understand each other so deeply that their voices don't just harmonize, they finish each other's thoughts.
Me see.
The way Roberta and Donny pass the melody back and forth, the way they lean into each other's phrases, it's intimate in a way that can't be performed. You can't fake that. It either exists between two people or it doesn't.
By giving me all you got.
This was released in 1978 on Atlantic Records, produced by Jerry Wexler and R.F. Martin, two of the most gifted producers in the history of American popular music. It was part of the album Blue Lights in the Basement, and it reached number 1 on the R&B charts.
Your love has.
Lyrically, it's a song about love deepening over time. The more you let someone in, the more beautiful and complete the feeling becomes. That's not a complicated message. But complexity isn't always the point.
Captured me.
Sometimes the most universal human truth is the simplest one. And this song delivers that truth with such tenderness that it becomes almost overwhelming. The context around this record carries enormous weight.
Over and over again.
By 1978, Donny Hathaway's mental health struggles had become severe. He was battling a condition later identified as paranoid schizophrenia that made periods of his life extraordinarily difficult.
I try to tell myself that we
could never.
And yet, and this is the thing that stays with you, the gentleness in this recording, the ease and warmth between him and Roberta feels completely present and real. Whatever he was going through outside that studio, inside it, in that moment, the music was a kind of peace.
Never be more than friends, and all the while inside.
Less than a year after this song was released, Donny Hathaway was gone. The reason this particular recording can sometimes feel underappreciated in the deeper sense is that it tends to be categorized as a romantic duet.
I knew it was real, the way you make.
Put in a playlist alongside other love songs and appreciated on a surface level when it actually deserves to be studied and felt and discussed as one of the most emotionally profound recordings of the entire decade. The story behind it gives it a weight that its radio-friendly surface doesn't immediately suggest. But when you know what you know about Donny Hathaway's life and you listen to this song again, the joy in his voice feels precious, like something you want to hold carefully.
Lying here next to you.
Two more, the top two. And I promise you these final two entries are everything this list has been building toward. Number 2 first, and then the one that started it all at number 1. Number 2, Etta James, Only a Fool.
Only a fool. You gotta be a fool to think I fall in love.
Etta James is a name you know, but this specific record, I'd be willing to bet a lot of you have not sat with this one the way it deserves.
With you.
Etta James in the 1970s was navigating one of the most difficult periods of her personal life, battles with addiction, complicated label relationships, a public profile that was in flux, and she poured every ounce of that struggle directly into her recordings.
To think I'll fall in love with you.
The result is some of the most painfully honest music ever made, and Only a Fool sits right at the center of that.
Fall in love with you.
This record is brutal in its honesty. It's a woman admitting out loud that she keeps going back to something she knows is hurting her. And she's not asking for sympathy, she's not performing grief.
And expect you to be true, oh, you've gotta be a fool.
She's just telling the truth. That level of emotional nakedness takes real courage. Etta James had that courage in ways most people never will.
Oh, look at it, people. I know you wonder what he's doing.
She was recording for Chess Records during this period, a label with an extraordinary history, but one that was facing its own serious internal challenges in the early 70s.
When he just standing there, trying to make a fool out of me.
The production here reflects a raw, less polished approach than the classic Chess sound, and honestly, for material this personal, the rawness works. It feels honest because it sounds honest.
Look at it, people. I know you wonder what he's doing.
The arrangement doesn't try to make things pretty, it just holds space for the voice. And Etta James's voice in this era was a force of nature that couldn't be contained by any arrangement regardless.
He's just trying to make a fool out of me.
Here's the thing about Etta James that the history books sometimes flatten. She was a genuine musical innovator, one of the bridges between classic blues, gospel, R&B, and rock and roll.
Oh, you gotta be a fool to think I'll fall in love with you.
She influenced artists across generations and genres, and yet in the 1970s, when the mainstream conversation shifted, she was often categorized as a legacy act before her time, as if her best work was behind her, when in fact she was still capable of extraordinary things. Records like this one prove it. The industry's treatment of certain women artists in the 1970s, particularly those who had been active since the 1950s and 60s, reflected assumptions about age and relevance that had little to do with actual artistry.
Can't have my love today, tomorrow.
Etta James kept making powerful music. The promotional machinery around her didn't always keep up. Now, she would later have her full recognition at last, would become one of the most famous songs in American music culture. But records like Only a Fool remind you that there were whole chapters of this woman's genius that the world moved past without stopping to appreciate.
Walk away, you gotta be a fool. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And now, number one, the record that in my view is the single most important, most emotionally powerful, most criminally underappreciated R&B ballad of the entire 1970s. This is the one.
All right, quick pause in the countdown because I need to say this from the heart. If these R&B picks are hitting you, if they're bringing back memories, late night vibes, old playlists, and that feeling you can't explain, then please subscribe to Sexual 69 right now. Not just for you, but because it genuinely helps this channel survive and grow. Every subscribe is like you telling YouTube, yes, this music matters. Keep this kind of content alive. It pushes these forgotten songs back into the light, helps more real R&B lovers find the channel, and lets me keep making deeper, better countdowns for you. So if you want more lists like this, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment with the one R&B song that raised you. Let's bring these classics back together.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number one, Ann Peebles, I Can't Stand the Rain.
I can't stand the rain against my window.
I chose this as number one, not just because of what the song is, but because of what it does from the very first note. That sound, that electronic patter that opens the record, it sounds like rain.
No. Bringing back sweet milk.
Not real rain. Rain that exists only in the emotional world. Rain that means something specific to someone who has lost someone and can't stop remembering them on rainy nights. That opening is one of the greatest sonic ideas in the history of recorded music, and it was radical in 1973. Ann Peebles was a Memphis soul singer with a voice that carried smoke and warmth and absolute authority. She didn't oversell. She didn't need to. She had the kind of natural presence where every word landed exactly where it was supposed to.
You remember?
And I Can't Stand the Rain was co-written by Ann herself, along with her husband Don Bryant and Bernard Miller, which matters. This was her story to tell, her emotion, her specific truth.
How sweet it used to be.
The record was released on High Records in 1973, yes. Back to High Records, back to Royal Studios in Memphis, and back to Willie Mitchell in the producer's chair. By now, you should understand that Willie Mitchell was operating on another level entirely during this period. Everything coming out of that studio had a sound that was simultaneously timeless and completely of its moment. The production uses that electronic tabla drum effect as the record's heartbeat, innovative in a way that practically invented a whole new sonic vocabulary.
Everything was so grand.
Lyrically, the song is about how certain things rain, specifically make the absence of a lost love unbearable. And sensory memory, the way a sound or a smell can pull you back to something you've been trying to move past. That is such a human experience, and Ann Peebles captured it completely. The impact of this record has come in waves. It charted strongly on the R&B charts in 1973, but its true legacy was built over decades, sampled, covered, and referenced by artists from Missy Elliott to Simply Red, who had a massive international hit with their own version.
Just one sound
The song has been used in film and television, has been a staple of serious soul radio, and among collectors and music historians, it is spoken about with genuine reverence. But in the general public conversation about great 70s R&B, the kind of conversation that happens in mainstream media, Ann Peebles' name often doesn't appear, and that is a mistake we should keep correcting. Ann Peebles was never given the sustained commercial infrastructure that her talent deserved. High Records, for all its extraordinary artistic achievements, was a smaller label that didn't have the distribution power of Motown or Atlantic or Columbia.
Bringing back sweet memories.
Great records sometimes need great machines behind them to reach their full audience in real time. This one didn't have that. It spread instead through word of mouth, through sound system culture, through the slow underground movement of music that is too good to disappear even when the system fails it. She is also, and this needs to be said directly, one of the greatest vocalists of her generation. Not one of the greatest female vocalists. One of the greatest vocalists. That distinction matters. Full stop, I Can't Stand the Rain is, in my view, as close to a perfect record as the 1970s produced. Every element, the concept, the sound design, the vocal, the arrangement, the production works together without a single wasted moment. If you haven't sat with it in a while, please go back to it today.